Good morning. It is Wednesday. It is hump day. We have made it halfway through the week, almost to the weekend. We're going to make it, folks. We're going to make it. We have tons to talk about today. I'm going to let you folks choose. Are we going to do good news first or bad news first? Frustrating. It's frustrating. It's going to make you angry. Which way do you want to go? Good or bad first? You want to end on a high note or end pissed off? This is your show as much as mine. Y'all choose. By the way, if you're watching this on replay, you're going to want to have that chat pane open so that you can see what's going on with chat, be part of the conversation. All right, looks like they're saying start with the bad news, so let's get started. Let's jump into it. Good morning, everybody. Let's start out by keeping our people in Hawaii in our thoughts. If you're not aware, there hasn't been much talk of it on social media or the news, but Hawaii's getting the shit kicked out of it right now. It had a storm blow through that, look, folks, climate change is real. It just is. And storms are just getting worse. And this was just supposed to be a storm. And I don't even mean a hurricane. I mean, just a storm. And it shocked everybody at how much rain it pumped out. It was really something. Hawaii is seeing some of the worst flooding they have ever seen right now. It is a real mess. It is just they're asking for the Trump to declare a disaster situation right now. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. But let's keep the folks in Hawaii in our thoughts because they really are dealing with some serious problems right now. And I hate to say it, folks, it's not looking good for them. So far, the response has been okay. Nothing to point out, but that you can hang your hat on and say, okay, this is terrible, this is it, but we're just getting started. We're just getting started. I'll be honest with you. And look, this guy is the head of FEMA. Greg Phillips. And we've made fun of him before because he said some crazy shit. He said that, like I said here, teleporting is no fun, because he claims to have been teleported multiple times. And by teleported, I mean just like teleported, like you think about teleporting. Just boom, he's somewhere else. One time he said he got teleported into a ditch by a church. And another time he said he got teleported into a Waffle House. That's the guy that's running FEMA, and he has a history that is far worse than somebody sitting and looking at a camera in a podcast and saying out loud that they had been teleported places. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have come to my senses in a Waffle House because the people that were driving when we had way too much partying going on when we were young ended up at a Waffle House. But I've never been teleported to a Waffle House. But this isn't the worst of the crazy conspiracy shit that he said. Believe it or not, teleporting is not not the worst of it, the most problematic of it. He, yeah, he, one second. Oh man, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. Yeah, I hope it's better. Mine is banging this morning. It's really getting me through. No, that's not the worst of it. See, he's been in government for last 30 years. And he got run out of a rail. He got run out of Mississippi on a rail. And when you're too corrupt for Mississippi, where do you go? Texas. Came here to Texas. Was part of the Mississippi welfare system. And I'm talking before everything blew up with Brett Favre and all the attention got paid to the Mississippi welfare system corruption. That he was too corrupt for them then. Then he moved to Texas and they put him in the welfare system here. And again, out you go. If you're too corrupt for Texas, to be a Texas Republican, I don't know what we can do for you. I don't. That's pretty damn bad. That is pretty damn bad. Yeah, I don't know what to do for you if, but no, after leaving the Texas government, he became part of that whole true the vote boondoggle. Where they were, going to prosecute voter corruption, and ended up only ever, after taking in millions of dollars, only ever brought 4 cases of voter corruption and then dropped all 4 of them rather than go to court. He had several different companies involved with that. Actually, he started with one company that was supposedly giving IT services. Then Philip started another company called OPSEC, in which he billed $750,000 at one point, because he was working on a project supposedly in Alabama. Then still all part of the True the Vote thing. Don't get me wrong. It's still out of Texas. This whole True the Vote thing has been, we Democrats here in Texas have been screaming about this forever, that it's just bullshit. Then supposedly had another project in Georgia. He called Eyes on Georgia, where he billed $700,000 for that. I mean, he's just been bilking people forever. But the latest, one of his more recent ones before becoming appointed to run FEMA was what they called a freedom hospital in Ukraine. And this is just awful. First of all, he announces it on Truth Social, this Freedom Hospital initiative in Ukraine. Said, oh man, we've already gotten big donations from this medical company and this medical company. Can you donate? Can you donate? We're halfway to our goal. Can you donate? And the company said, you're a liar. We never gave you anything. We never gave you anything. And then they went out and ran an ad on YouTube that showed somebody that was doing something in front of a blown up building in Ukraine, actually in Ukraine, saying operations have started. We're getting started on the Freedom Hospital in Ukraine. Turns out that video wasn't theirs. I mean, as in they didn't own it or make it. And the actor that was involved in it was pissed because he had no idea that this was happening, that they were using that video. It was for a totally different thing. And they just claimed it was their evidence that they were on the ground working in Ukraine. And then it just went away, like so many of the things that he says he's going to do. He has a real problem with steering contracts. And this seems to be something that runs through the Trump regime. He has a real problem with steering contracts to himself and to associates and things like that. So this is the guy in charge with the response in Hawaii right now. And if you know anything about Hawaii, everything's expensive. Everything is expensive. So these contracts that are going to be doled out for repairs and remediation and all this other stuff he's not going to be able to help himself, folks. He's just not. I would bet my life that he is not going to be able to handle this without something going desperately wrong. So yeah, we're watching Hawaii right now. We're watching Hawaii right now. So yeah, that's just who the Trump regime is. It's just who they are. Then, of course, y'all remember Ice Barbie. I'm so proud that got to be so popular. Everybody calls her Ice Barbie. You remember Ice Barbie, and then there's Corey Lewandowski. There were the accusations that those two were having an affair. And of course, Ice Barbie had to quit because $200 million got spent on her. That's her grift, man. That's what she did. I showed you the same commercials she made when she was the governor of South Dakota. I mean, she just that's what she would do. She would just make commercials with herself in it, and then pay her people around her to make the commercials. So government money would go into her and her friends, and she got to play model. That was her grift. And when she got appointed head of DHS, it just continued. She made commercials for DHS that nobody could understand why she was riding around on a horse in the mountains. I mean, it made no freaking sense, but hey, she got to make another commercial, right? And then it all went public, and we found out it cost $200 million, and the company that got the contract, it just, had only existed 8 days, and that it was somebody's personal address. And, Democrats right now are chasing the money, right? We talked about all that. Turns out that was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh, Corey Lewandowski, whom, Christian Ohm kept saying he doesn't run anything. He doesn't do anything. Yeah, turns out he was demanding fees. You and I would call them bribes, but demanding fees from contractors at DHS. Well, he picked the wrong contractor to screw with, and I don't know why he would be this freaking stupid. But yeah, Geo Group has come out and said, look, this is bullshit and we're not doing it. Geo Group is the large private prison company. And this is a great article. You should definitely read it. It's from Daily Beast. It just came out yesterday. Ice Barbie's alleged lover hit with new corruption inquiry. Just Google that and it'll pop right up. So here's the deal. Here's the skinny. Lewandowski was telling the Geo Group, hey, you're getting contracts to run these private prison camps that we're running in DHS. I want a fee to manage those contracts. And Geo Group said, no, thanks. And he said, you don't understand. That wasn't an optional fee. And they said, look, we get what you're doing. I tell you what we'll do. We'll put you on retainer here. We'll give you a no-show job, basically. We'll just put you on retainer here. He said, that's not enough money. No. I told you I want my fee. And he was demanding huge amounts of money. It hasn't been disclosed yet, but they were saying that his demands, this got broken by NBC. They were saying the amount of money he was demanding out of Geo Group was comparable to the entirety of their contracts. I mean, let that sink in. I mean, that's a lot of freaking money. And Geo Group said, no. And boy, did he pick the wrong company. Geo Group is a government contractor in, I don't know how many states, to be quite honest with you. They own private prisons all over the freaking country. They are very, very tight into the Republican Party. They write a lot of checks to Republican politicians. They didn't have to roll over for this shit and didn't. Because what Corey Lewandowski did next was he told DHS no more contracts for Geo Group when they told him to take a hike. Well, that sun is bright today. When he told him to take a hike, he did. He told DHS no more contracts for Geo Group. I'm just an old hillbilly in the woods, man, but I could see where this was going. They said, screw you, and went public. They have no fear whatsoever. And just to give you an idea of how little fear they have, they're the ones that told us, look, we offered him to put him on retainer. We offered to bribe him. It wasn't good enough. That's how little fear Geo Group has of any negative repercussions. That's how tight they are into the Republican Party, that they feel like they can just publicly say, this guy's trying to blackmail us for too much money. We tried to give him basically a no-show job, and he wouldn't take it. Now he's trying to interfere with our contracts. All you people we pay, do something about this shit. So what did the Republicans do? They took this and said, Democrats, here, go ahead. Here's all the information. Go ahead. And Robert Garcia and the House Oversight Committee and several committees have actually just lit up. The Democrats are going to town on this one. And believe me, you're going to want to keep your eye on this, because when Geo Group so publicly said, fuck this guy, and came out and said, look, we tried to bribe the dude and he just wouldn't take it. He just got greedy. Other companies have said, that some bitch did that to us too. So this is one that's just, it's all starting to come out. This one's at the very beginning of the festered boil is just starting to erupt. There's a whole lot more that's going to come out of this. And Corey Lewandowski is done. I mean, how many times did I tell you, whenever we'd had a story with Corey Lewandowski, this is a guy that has terrible impulse control. This is the guy that put his hands on y'all remember, put his hands on a reporter. She was walking next to Trump asking a question, and Corey Lewandowski didn't like it. So he reached up, grabbed her by the arm, and jerked her out of it. Y'all remember that video? That's Corey Lewandowski. So yeah, This is going to get good. Between what happens in Hawaii with Greg Phillips and what happens with Corey Lewandowski, this is going to be hell. It is. This is going to be, as an American, it's bad. As an American, it's bad. As a Democrat, oh, this is going to be the gift that keeps on giving. But that is far from all the corruption we have to deal with. You've got this nonsense going on. We are paying ICE to stand around in airports and point at shit at the ground, point at shit on the ground. Tom Homan's claiming that they're doing security, but security looks an awful lot like just walking around or standing around looking at your phone, or, you know, and I want you to pay attention to these faces. And you can see why they wear masks now, because I have never seen anything as unintimidating as these ICE agents without masks on. They're freaking children. They're children. You wonder why they're such dumbasses. They're freaking kids. And again, the least intimidating thing I have ever seen. Just standing around, leaning up against the wall, looking at their phones. I got to tell you, folks, I want you to think about this for a second as you look at this picture. I want you to imagine you're a TSA agent. I want you to think about that for a second. You're a TSA agent. You're going on your third paycheck that you haven't been paid. And you're still there doing your job because you don't want to be fired and you don't want to quit. And you know, eventually you're going to get paid, but who knows when. And Republicans are playing all kinds of games. And then, on top of telling you they can't pay you, they bring these idiots in to stand around in the airport, and they are getting paid. And they get paid a hell of a lot more than you do. And these idiots aren't even trained to be ICE agents. Much less to do the job of TSA. I mean, they're imbeciles. They're idiots. And they're getting paid more than you, but more than that, they're getting paid, and you're not getting paid. Because Republicans, what a slap in the face. What a slap in the face. People are saying this picture is going to win the Pulitzer. You see the line on the right, that's the line that goes out and wraps around the airport. That eventually leads to the security checkpoint inside the airport. You know how deep inside the airport those TSA checkpoints are. You've got these lines where people are literally standing outside. And there's your ICE agent there, leaning up against the column. I don't know, was he texting somebody or Googling or whatever? But kudos to Megan Varner, because I mean, nothing sums this up. She's the photographer that took this picture. Adam Parkamenko was who actually, I saw it. He had shared it on Threads. I I mean, but isn't that just the perfect picture, just encompassing everything that's going on? And they're just about every major airport. I hear Las Vegas is doing okay, but Las Vegas is dead as a door now. But Houston, New York, LA, Atlanta, everywhere that there is a major hub and a major airport, DFW is not looking too good either. And we get this nonsense. This nonsense. And this is why I'm putting this under the corruption tab. There's a deal on the table. Republicans are okay with it. Democrats are okay with it. Democrats said, you know what? We're fighting over ICE, and we're not going to budge on that. I don't care what happens. We're not budging on that. We have reasonable demands that we need you to implement, one of which is uniforms. You saw what just idiotic yahoos these people look like. I mean, everybody else, they're just dressed willy-nilly. Some people are in jeans. Some people are in polo shirts. Some people are wearing T-shirts. Some people are wearing, it's ridiculous. This is what the world is seeing. The airports, travel, international travelers, that's their first impression of the United States is the frickin' airport that they land in. And they see these idiots, all kinds of some of them are wearing fire hose pants, and some of them are wearing camouflage tactical gear. Some of them are wearing, and they're kids, and they're lazy as fuck, leaning up against a wall. And then on top of that, the Republicans and the Democrats have made a deal. They have. There's a deal. It's done. They're going to fund the rest of DHS, and they're going to carve out ICE, and then they're going to argue about what restraints, what reforms to put on ICE. And the deal includes, this is what John Thune took out of it. The deal includes whatever reforms they agree on, ICE gets their funding in the same bill. Whenever they do the reforms for ICE, fair enough. Whenever they do the reforms for ICE, the funding is attached to the same bill. That was John Thune's end of it. That's the Republicans' end of it. Done deal. TSA's getting paid. Everybody's getting paid. They took it to Trump, and Trump told them to pound sand. Nope, not going to do it. Unless the Democrats pass the SAVE Act, he's not going to pay TSA. He's going to leave the airports like this. He thinks he's winning, by the way. And we're going to talk about here in a little bit why he thinks he's winning. But he does. He thinks he's winning. Do me a favor, folks. We're going to talk about some really important stuff here. So take a second to hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button so we can get the algorithm convinced that, hey, it's time to get this out. Let's get as many people as possible in here and get as many people to watch and replay as possible. Do that for me. Subscribe, thumbs up button. Folks, here's the deal with the SAVE Act and why it will never get passed. The Democrats, there are not enough Democrats to cross the aisle to pass the SAVE Act. There just isn't. You got one or two idiots, John Fetterman being one that ever, but there aren't enough to cross the aisle. They need 7 Democrats to cross the aisle. They've only got 2. They're not going to get it, folks. They aren't. And the reason they're not going to get it isn't just that it, the bullshit documentation that you're trying to push women through. I mean, that's bad enough. We've talked about that. We've talked about how you've got to get a birth certificate and a passport and all, and there isn't enough time between now and the election. Even if they did by some miracle pass this, there isn't enough time between now and the election. It would never survive the court battles. So it's just not going to happen. But the big reason, and this is the one that's just not getting talked about enough, the big reason they're not going to pass the SAVE Act is because it takes all your voter data from every state. Even this, right now you've got states like Minnesota. Kudos to Tim Walz in Minnesota, who's standing up. Unlike my governor, who just forked it all over. Florida just handed it all over. All your voter data goes to Trump. And they're not telling you what they're going to do with it. And I want you to think back to Greg Phillips, because part of what he did in that True the Vote thing was this voter data bullshit. It's going to go to people like that. And folks, in that law, they could challenge your voter registration every 30 days. Say they challenge your voter registration, get you kicked off the rolls. You go fix it because you're a Democrat. You're checking your voter registration. 30 days later, they can kick you off again. That's in that bill, folks. That's in the SAVE Act. It's never going to pass. It's just never going to pass. There are a lot of Republicans that feel like they can do this, and that we as a people, we Democrats as a people, because we're not the same, are, too high valued, and this will never bite them in the ass. Should we happen to take power back, we will never do the same abusive things to them that they are trying to do to us, or they will do to us if the SAVE Act passes. But I promise you, it is part of my mission in life. Every time I talk to a Democratic congressman, every time I talk to one and we have a conversation, high road's over, baby. High road's over. We do to them what they do to us, but worse. I don't care if it's redistricting. I don't care. I don't want my principles. I don't want my principles. I want to do to them exactly what they do to us, but with competence, because they're all incompetent. We are not. So what we do to them will be far worse than what they do to us. You open that door, you pass the SAVE Act. If we get our hands on it, I personally will start an organization. I will hire lawyers. I personally will do this shit just to make sure it gets done. I will challenge the fuck out of Republicans' voter registration. I promise you, if they pass the SAVE Act, that I will do that. I will hire attorneys, and I will, whether I've got to go through FOIA requests, no matter what I've got to do, I will get voter data, and I will purge Republicans as fast as I possibly can. I will. I will just do it. You have some Republicans that think that I won't. Believe me, I will. When it came to redistricting, I was screaming. They've been doing this gerrymandering shit over and over again. It's over. Screamed about it. We built momentum, and we built momentum, and we built momentum. And then look what happened in California. Then we look what happened in Virginia. We let these Democrats know we've got you. We've got you. I get it. Democrats don't like gerrymandering. We don't like gerrymandering. It's cheating. It's fucking cheating, but we cannot unilaterally disarm. We've got you. Do it. Yes. Yes. Mark Elias is the GOAT. He is. He is the godfather of decency. God bless Mark Elias. But you know what? That's just the way I am. I'm a low road Democrat. I am a low road Democrat. I love Michelle Obama. I've said this before. I love Michelle Obama. I do. I think she's a wonderful person. She's the kind of person that we should hold up and have people in this country just aspire to be. But I vehemently disagree with her. She says when they go low, we what? When they go low, we what? No, damn it. I thought I had you people trained better than this. There you go. That's right. That's right. When they go low, we go lower. Amen, brother. We get in that ditch and we go to work, baby. That's who we are. That's who we are. Fuck that high road. Never been on the high road in my life. Ain't going to start now. But yeah, that is what this is about. TSA is not getting paid because Donald Trump wants to pass the SAVE Act because he believes we won't do this to them. He believes it'll save them. And you got Little Johnson on a hot mic being told, oh, yes, this will suppress 18% of the vote. And you'll notice he didn't say 18% of the Democratic vote. He just said 18% of the vote. Because statistically, that's the way it works, folks. The fewer people that show up, the better Republicans do. That's just the way elections shake out. The fewer people that show up, the better that they do. So they know they're going to hit some of their own with this. The SAVE Act is a shotgun, not a laser. But they know voter suppression, if it works to suppress votes, it will eventually help them numerically because them old gray-haired bigots will vote no matter what. They don't care. They don't care what Trump has done. They don't care. It doesn't matter if he's in the EPS. They could see pictures of him absolutely abusing children. They could see direct pictures of it and they would still support him. That's who they are. They get pointed out. You know, we pointed out, we're going to talk a little bit about something that just happened with Iran and some serious corruption there already. The response on that on social media has been, oh, well, what about Nancy Pelosi? They don't care. They don't care. First of all, they don't know shit about Nancy Pelosi. They just heard somewhere somebody told them that she was corrupt and insider trading and you know what I mean? But they don't know shit about any of the details on that. But they are telling you to your face, okay, we know Trump did this, but it's okay because somebody told me you did it too. That's why they cheat. That's why every time there's an investigation into voter fraud, what do they find? Republicans. They find some Republican somewhere that's cheating. Took his, mom and dad passed away and he's still collecting their ballots and sending them back in. That kind of shit. Or committing fraud on when you've got it, instead of going out and doing the work and get the signature so that you can get qualified to be on a ballot, they just make them up. Anytime there's an investigation into voter fraud, that first of all, it's statistically irrelevant. But when they do catch somebody that's doing it, whether it's irrelevant or not, it's always a damn Republican. Why? Because they keep telling them and they believe we're doing it, so it's okay that they do it. Well, we're not fucking doing it. You're just crooks. That's what it is. You're just crooks. But yeah, I don't think the SAVE Act is going to pass. I don't. And this didn't help much, because Donald Trump is telling everybody that'll listen, and this will not matter to MAGA, okay? This will not matter to MAGA, but you need to beat him upside the head with it anyways. You need to grab your fact bat. You need to grab your fact bat and quit asking me to sell these people. Do y'all know how much a maple bat costs? I would have to sell these for like $250 a piece to make it worth going and buying them and then putting fact bat on it and then shipping it out to somebody. It would be outrageously expensive. This is like $150 bat. These are expensive. Quit asking me to sell these. I'm not going to do it. But anyways, yeah. After sitting there telling everybody, oh, we got to have that SAVE Act. They're cheating with that mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is nothing but cheating. Mail-in voting is nothing but fraud. How did Trump just vote? Mail-in. We just had an election yesterday, which, by the way, I got some results for you. We just had an election in Florida yesterday, and how did Trump vote? By mail. By mail. When you do it, it's cheating. When he does it, it's just convenience. Just convenience for him. I know I promised you all the bad news first, but I want you to leave pissed off. I do. I want you to leave pissed off and motivated. So I'm going to segue from Trump voting to this. In the election he just voted in, this just happened. Oh, yeah. This just happened. Congratulations to Emily Gregory. Way to go, girl. Way to go. Nailed it. Did the work. Got it done. Got it done. That is a Democrat for you right there, man. That's a fighter. That is a Democrat for you. Emily Gregory just got it done. And that's in Trump's district. That's the district that Mar-a-Lago's in. Get this, okay? She fought it out. She got it done. I mean, this is respectable. This is respectable. I mean, it's 2 points. 2 points. I mean, elections are usually close, especially when you're talking about special elections, especially when you're talking about a state election versus federal. This is for Florida House, a Florida House seat. She now represents Donald Trump. Mar-a-Lago is in her district. So yeah, I mean that's respectable. That's respectable. But I want you to look at this shift. This was the last election in that district. Whoo. 60-40. 60-40 in the last election. Folks, that's a 22-point shift. That is a 22-point shift. And that is in a red district, man. That is a red district. Republicans are trying to spin it because the entire county Palm Beach County leans blue. But no, that district runs up on the coast. That's all your rich Mar-a-Lardo people. That is an incredibly red district. It's not in the entire county. It's just that district. And man, a 22-point shift and a complete flip from red to blue. That's what I'm talking about, folks. That is what I'm talking about. I got one more for you from yesterday's election. This was a state Senate seat in Hillsborough County. That's Tampa. Tampa is a red county. Hillsborough County, that's around Tampa. That is a red county. And this just happened. Congratulations to Brian Nathan. Just flipped that seat red to blue. Red to blue. And look at these numbers. Look at these numbers. Again, not a blowout, but he did the work. He kept at it. You Democrats showed up. You did what you were supposed to do. You did what you were supposed to do. This is a little over half a point is what he won by. So what does that mean? That means every vote counts. That means getting involved locally matters. It matters. Your vote matters. And doing the work, getting involved locally is where you can change everything. And hats off to you, Florida Democrats. Hats off to you, man. You got it done. You got it done. You showed the hell up and made it happen. Because, folks, this was the last election that they had there. See, they were holding and remember, we Democrats don't show up historically. We don't show up for off-year elections. We don't show up for special elections. We just don't. And this was a special election, and you did it. You did it. You showed up. You got it done. This was the last election that they held there. To give you an idea what the swing was, talking 9 points in the last election. Slap another half point on there. You're talking a 10-point swing. 2 Democrats in a red district. We're not talking about Palm Beach. We're talking about Hillsborough. Folks, at this rate, Florida goes blue. At the rate things are going, Florida goes blue. This is the presidential there in Hillsborough County. Donald Trump won Hillsborough by 4 points, 4.5 points. And that was running against Kamala Harris, who underperformed. Now imagine a prime, candidate right now, the way everybody's supported, something that's, a candidate that they isn't forced into a short, abbreviated campaign like Kamala Harris was. A Democrat that gets to run a full campaign instead of having to put one together last minute because people were stupid enough to throw our candidate out just a few months from the election. Thanks, Jake Tapper. That's good news, man. That is good news. That's why they're trying to pass the SAVE Act. They can do math. They understand what this means. They understand that with these kind of shifts, Florida is now a blue state. And they're freaking out. They are freaking out. That's why you're seeing so much of a push in Florida. And again, I want to give you just an idea again of the kind of swing this is. This is the one election that they won. The Republicans picked up one election last night in the special election. This is the one they won. Hillary Holly won by 8.5 points. 8.5 points. But this was Polk, and that was in Polk County. I want you to look how red Polk County is. She won by 8.5 points in Polk County. Donald Trump won Polk County by 20, almost 22 points. It doesn't get much redder than that. And the Democrat closed it to 8.5 points. Now, I know what you're saying. Some people are saying, man, I mean, well, gosh, I mean, people, we still lost. Why didn't we win? Why didn't we win? Well, folks, we're not going to win every county in the country. We're just not. Some of them will stay red. But Jesus Christ, from 22 points with Trump to 9 points in a special, 8.5 points in a special, folks, that will tell you Florida is now blue. And they know it. They're in sheer panic mode. Everybody that is familiar with what's going on, all we have to do, by the way, the pins are back in the store. All we have to do is be ride or die. That's it. Don't split our vote. Don't do it. Don't do it. I get it. Some of these elections can be sharp. A lot of sharp elbows thrown in these primary elections. People leave it all out there. They fight their ass. I'll give you an example. We've had Julie Johnson on the show before. Y'all know Julie Johnson. We love Julie Johnson. She's fantastic. She's in a hell of a primary fight right now against another great candidate. She's running against Colin Allred. We've had Colin Allred on the show before. Y'all know I worked my ass off to try to get Colin Allred to beat Ted Cruz last time. Her and Colin Allred are running for the same seat. And it's getting rough, man. It's getting rough. I mean, they're throwing, there's some accusations being thrown out there, but you fight for your candidate. Strong primaries, hard primaries make us a better party. They do. Strong candidates make us a better party. Is it fucking sad that we've got two great candidates running? Yeah, it is. It blows because only one of them can win. But on the other side of that, we're all good. We're Democrats. You walk in that booth and you pull the lever for a Democrat. That's what it means to be ride or die. That's what it means to be ride or die. Let me catch up on some of these comments, and then we're going to move to. I've got a couple really important things to talk to you about. Did I watch the UN? I did not. You're going to have to tell me something big happened there because I was prepping for the show. I didn't. Marsha Klepper, morning, y'all. Took the day off to babysit my great granddog. Enjoy that pupper. ET, unlike most everyone else in the U.S., they have to have everything shipped or flown into them. That talking about Hawaii, that amount of flooding will require tons of drywall. Yep. It's going to be man. I'm telling you, Greg Phillips is not going to be able to help himself. Skeet Sayre, as I said before, the pendulum is broken. We just won in Trump's backyard. They are all idiots because the thing that gathers them is hatred. Amen. Quantrux, welcome, Quantrux. Now we have RFK Jr. declaring no more vaccines for American children. Time for mothers across America to say no to this lunatic. Amen. I'm in. What is it? Make polio great again? And by the way, let me pause for just 1 second. On that note, I love you people for being so on top of things. On that note, measles has not slowed down. Please make sure that your children, your grandchildren are vaccinated. Please. Measles is one of those diseases that we just had a baby that contracted measles before it was old enough to get its vaccines. It was through no fault of their parents. The baby just wasn't old enough. Got measles and survived. There is a syndrome that happens with some people that get measles. The baby got her vaccination. She survived. She ended up getting her vaccinations. At 6 years old, that syndrome came back and that child died. Please get your children vaccinated. Pretty please. Skeets here, I thought you were talking about Paxton. No, we're gonna talk a lot about Paxton here in a little bit. Rich Lawton in some upcoming shows. Rich Lawton, like to see these grifters held responsible. Me too, brother. Me too. The Democrats have so much ammunition. They're gonna rip these Republicans a new one after the midterms. Skeets there, when the Dems take back the House, those will become criminal charges. Johnson said that in a passionate rant about Congress. I love it. Amen. Amen. ET, it is looking more and more. Man, that's your election sales pitch. If you let the Democrats take the House, they're going to prosecute us for these crimes. Don't let them prosecute us. What a hell of a sales pitch. ET, it is looking more and more like Doge was to get rid of everything that would have been around to stop all this corruption throughout the whole government. Yep, and to end investigations into Elon Musk. Yep. Get rid of those inspector generals and yeah. Jeff Schuler, how ironic. Corey will end up in a cell built by the company he tried to extort. That is funny. I hadn't even thought. I love you people so much. That is funny. I hadn't even thought about that. The fact that Corey Lewandowski could end up in a cell run by Geo. Oh my God. It's not funny because it's corruption and it should piss you off, but that's just a funny thought, man. I love you people. Kathy Young. The irony is that Krusty Gnome and her boy toy may be housed by Geo. Yeah. The great minds, man. Great minds. That is great. Skeets there. Make sure you buy shares in popcorn companies. Trials for this will make Jan 6 look like kindergarten talent show. Make sure it is streamed live. I'm telling you, man. That is my deal. That is my deal. We go low. Go low and stay low. None of this, we've got to move on for the good of the country. None of that bullshit. Nope. Y'all did this shit. Time to pay the piper. Mike Daly, the Dim. Morning, brother. Geo Group advertising his newest future resident. Rock and run. Shadow hearings with victims of ICE abuses are eye-opening and heartbreaking. That is true. That is true. Thanks for bringing us back to reality, Ron. I appreciate you, man. That is true. The stories that have been coming out are just, it's hard for me to cover them because I get choked up. It is. Some of the stuff that's been going on, abuses of pregnant women, people being impregnated in custody and, freaking raping children, inmates, and I'm telling you, when Democrats run the show, it's not going to all be Schadenfreude. It's not. It's not going to be all Schadenfreude. It is not. You're going to hear about this shit, and it is just. Tony Mason, will Corey be allowed to receive conjugal visits from Krusty? Oh, my God. Skeet Sayer, well, they grabbed a woman yesterday and the focus has gone from long lines to what the fuck is ICE doing? Yep. That happened in San Francisco, folks. Woman getting on an airplane and ICE jumped on her. Nirvana Tyler, Texas. Howdy, neighbor. Trump's own Florida home district is now blue. Amen. McBastage, ICE failed son suckling on the government welfare teat while TSA actually working goes unpaid. It is a slap in the face, man. It really is. ET, apparently the main purpose is to normalize their presence in everyday life and or at polling places. People get involved, attend No Kings 3. That's this Saturday, folks. We got a No Kings rally coming up. We got to do this, man. Get out. Show up. It's good people there, man. I'm telling you, last No Kings rally, the last one I went to, I was in Boston. But the last one I went here in Smith County, it's freaking great, man. You got little old church ladies standing next to anarchists with mohawks. I can't tell you how good the vibe is there. It is just uplifting. It will make you happy. You'll just seeing all the people in the community that turn out. It is great, man. It is great. Hermano Delphi. They'll always have CCOT torture videos. Yep. Skeet Sarah, I swear they are trying to kill World Cup attendance. It is insane. Yeah, this World Cup's going to be a disaster. It is. It's going to be a disaster. Mondolia, they could help their public opinion if they ran around asking people in line if they could help them somehow while they wait in line for hours instead of standing around looking stupid. They tried that. They tried to have ICE walking around handing out water. Most people didn't want it. Johnny Lott, no one in the Kenkels family have ever served in the military. No. They're not about anybody else. They're about themselves. E.T., some uniform producer hasn't gotten into the Mad King's taint hard enough yet to already have had them out yet. Get involved, people. Yep. Chandra, thank you for always being here. Thank you for always supporting the show. I appreciate you. Couple more and we're going to get back to work. Michael LaRosa, Donald J. Trump will move the goalposts on this as long as he can keep the issue of TSA staff not getting paid in the spotlight. Fox News and Fox Business are hammering the Dems and ignoring the compromise. Yeah, they're not going to tell their people the truth. They're not. They're not going to tell people that it says right on page, I think, 119 of the 2025 project that they wanted to privatize TSA. So what they're really hoping is that these people would just quit. That's what they want. They want to privatize the TSA. Yoda, be wise. Disband and arrest ICE agents. We've got to tear that entire agency down to the ground. There's some things that just can't be fixed. Pascal Neighbor, love from the Netherlands. Glad you're here. Glad to hear. Good to see my folks from Europe here, especially Scandinavia. You got to love Northern Europeans, man. Quantrux, let's all write a future obituary for President Trump. I'll start off, Dear Americans. The most anticipated obituary in the world. Skeet Sarah, sheriff in California, took over 500,000 ballots in his own election. Do not let the SAVE Act come to life. Yeah, that's not over either. That's not over. That kind of blatant out in the open corruption is it's not just the reason you're talking about it is they're not done with that. Spicy Jester, ICE and other agencies are buying bulk data on Americans from phone apps and web browsers, giving access to sensitive info without a warrant per NPR news reports. Yeah. Look, Republicans cheat. That's what they do. They cheat. They know they're not popular with the American people. If they have to run on the issues, that's why there's always distraction. It's why they're always eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Oh, look out, a transgender person. Oh my God. This is why they never run on their issues. It's always made up bullshit. And look how much it costs us. Look how much we've spent, with Department of Homeland Security and ICE. We're literally more than we spent on the Marine Corps. ICE has a budget larger than the Marine Corps to arrest moms, to arrest people working out of a Home Depot parking lot. Not criminals, not drug dealers, all the shit that they told, just people working out farm labor, arresting farm. South Texas, the construction industry, these are some right-wing sons of bitches, man. I got to tell you, they are some these home builders and their contractors are right-wing sons of bitches, and they are crying to the Republicans, you weren't supposed to do this to us. Look at all these pads we have poured, and we can't build the houses because, well, it turns out everybody we were employing was illegal. I'm telling you. Laura Gomez, thank you for being here. Marshall Cass, there you go, Texas Paul. Get that. Yeah, amen. Get a bulldozer. Yep. Welcome, Kirsten Hammond. Welcome. There are gifted memberships to be had. There are. All you got to do is hit the join button. You may have to enable your settings to allow you to receive gifts. But yeah, there are gifted memberships to be had. Rita, thank you for being here. When they go low, we pull the frickin' emergency brake. I thought you were going to say we pull the grenade pin. I'm like, I like the way you're thinking there. K.O. McLaren, the SAVE Act also includes anti-trans legislation. Yeah, they've been throwing all kinds of disgusting shit in there, which aside from being evil, also has nothing to do with voting. Yeah, they're just trying to throw as much shit in there as possible. Welcome, Mike. I appreciate you. Welcome. Robert, welcome. All right, let's get back to work. There's still more going on. There's still going more. I want you to think about this. Before we talk about Iran. There's just been some serious corrupt shit going on with Iran. And on top of that, just stick with me. We're going to get there. This is just out of NBC. This is how Trump gets his briefing every day. They put together a video montage of shit blowing up. It's usually about 2 minutes long. And that's his security briefing about what's going on in Iran. Nothing in depth. Nothing to talk about cultural issues or, there's, for one, like Iran is not a monolithic country. There's like 6 different cultures in Iran. They don't go into anything in depth at all with him. It's just show him some pictures of some shit blowing up and tell him, woo, we're doing good, man. Look at that shit. And that's his security briefing, the president of the United States. Now, I get it. He's got dementia. What good is it to try to tell him things? But he couldn't do it anyways. He couldn't sit through a real security briefing if his life depended on it. Even before his brain had turned to pudding, he was incapable. He just can't. He can't. He's not a reader. Keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this. Y'all remember this. Trump put this out the other day. I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. That's a lie. And that's been proven a lie since he put this out. I want you to look at the date on this and the timestamp. The timestamp is very important. March 23rd, 2026 at 7:05. March 23rd at 7:05 a.m. He put this out. Now, this wasn't, from the White House. This wasn't a, hey, from the White House with the White House. No, this is social media shit, the way our government is run now. It's a freaking joke. Let me continue. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, that's a lie. And we now know it's a complete lie. I'll point it out here in a little bit. Just put a pin in that. That's a lie. I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period. That's like we're going to get the infrastructure bill in 2 weeks, or we're going to get the healthcare bill in 2 weeks. And somebody told him that's a fucking war crime. Who knows? Maybe you watched Coffee with Texas Paul. But yeah, he said, we're going to suspend it for 5 days. subject to success on the ongoing meetings and discussions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. All right, let's rip into this. A couple things that happened before we get back to the lie part and all that other stuff. Something happened that you need to know about. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard something about this on social media, but this is something that Paul Krugman, love Paul Krugman. He's one of the people that I follow. He's one of the people I listen to when it comes to economics. He's a Nobel Prize winner. The guy knows what the hell he's talking about when he talks about the economy. This is not, you'll know this is not normal verbiage from him. And he pulled no punches. Nobel laureate Paul Krugman calls it treason. 580 million in suspicious oil futures traded minutes before Trump's Iran reversal. That article, you need to go back and you need to read that article. You do. That is a great article. I'm going to show you just a couple clips from it, a couple important paragraphs from it to give you a taste of it. You need to go read the whole article. This is, quote, this is one of the first paragraphs, it's like third paragraph down. We have another word for situations in which people with access to confidential information regarding national security, such as plans to bomb or not bomb another country, exploit that information for profit, Krugman wrote in a Substack post Tuesday. That word is treason. Now you know why they haven't declared war. Now you know why they haven't declared war. They never went to Congress. Now you know why. One of the major reasons why. Because if you do shit like I'm about to show you, and we have declared war, it is treason. It is treason. Now, there are things that are treasonous that aren't by the letter of the law treason. But for treason to kick in, you have to be at war. There are a whole lot of limitations and laws that kick in the moment you declare war. So yeah, you've got a good understanding. One of the reasons that we don't have an actual declaration of war right now, because you can't prosecute anybody for treason when it's not wartime. Krugman argued that insider trading on national security decisions is illegal for reasons besides unfairness. He says unfairness, it is theft. What I'm about to show you is theft. It is not just unfair. It presents a strategic vulnerability. Trading on classified information effectively broadcast government plans to foreign adversaries. He wrote, adding that who needs to bribe agents within a government when you can infer the same intelligence from futures markets? This is what he's talking about, folks. This is what he's talking about. So pay attention to this red arrow down here. You see how there's little to no trading going on? And then all of a sudden, boop. Folks, there were 6,900 trades in just under a minute. Almost no trade. See, there are periods, just an FYI, in futures trading, it isn't always like you see the rest of the day there going on. You know how it's just little dips and peaks and valleys back and forth? No, there are times, because commodities are traded on a global scale. There are moments, and commodities are 24 hours a day, right? They trade from Sunday evening to Friday evening. All right, 24 hours a day. NYMEX runs 24 hours a day. It's not like the stock market, that opens at 9:30 and closes it. No, it is open 24/7. but there are periods where you move from one region to the next. Like there can be active trading, in the prime daylight hours, work hours, banking hours of, say, London. And then, as the time shifts over the Atlantic, it'll be flat. It'll be almost nothing. When you see a spike like that spike right there, something's wrong. Something's wrong. That spike that they're pointing to was at 6:44, or pardon me, 6:49 a.m. Eastern time, 6:49 a.m. Now remember, I told you the timestamp on that post that the president put out was 7:05. At 6:49, someone sold 6,900 oil futures contracts. Both Western, we talk about it all the time, WTI and Brent and West Texas Intermediate and Brent. They sold just under 7,000 futures contracts when the price was pegged up here at close to $100 a barrel. And they did it at a time, again, when there was just no trading. There was no trading going on. Then, right after Trump makes his announcement, trading goes crazy because everybody has the information. Now, it was inaccurate information and it was lies. But hey, that's Wall Street for you. They believe lies. They do. They just want good news to exist, so they believe it. So the rest of the trading makes fucking sense. But that spike, 15 minutes before he announced that, I want you to think about that. No one knew. Trump was not in the office. Trump was not in the office. The White House, it doesn't kick off at 6:45 in the morning. He was in his residence, sitting on the shitter when he put that out. Whoever had that information was in Trump's inner circle. Whoever had that information was in Trump's inner circle, because it wasn't just oil futures. No, they were greedy. They were greedy. From 6:49 to 6:50, there was a huge spike in oil futures trading, but that wasn't the end of it. The next minute, this happened. Pardon me, it was 6,200. It was 60. Somebody just sent me. It was 62. I said 6,900. It was 6,200 West Texas Intermediate and Brent trades from 6:49 to 6:50. Then at 6:50, after they were done triggering all their oil trades, which, by the way, to trade 6,200 contracts that quickly, they had set this up. All they had to do was just trigger it. They knew they were going to do this at some point. You see this spike on the E-mini S&P futures. Now, if you're not an investor or anything, I realize this won't make a whole lot of sense to you. But it's not hard to understand. Just imagine Wall Street is a casino and they'll bet on anything, right? They actually bet, they don't just buy and sell stocks, part of a company. No, they'll actually bet. They'll buy a bet on what those stocks are going to do. They'll actually buy futures on stocks, on what the S&P is going to do. That futures market is called the S&P Mini. The E-mini. Right after, 1 minute after selling off all their oil, they bought E-mini S&P futures. to the tune of, get this blip right here. Notice how it's flat. Nobody's trading. They start buying at 650. You want to take a wild guess how much they bought? What this blip right here, and keep in mind, it's not as high as what happens after the announcement, because that triggers all the algorithms. There are literally algorithms that read the news, folks. There are. No shit. Trading is computerized now. These trading houses have complex algorithms. Let me put a pin in this and explain to you just how much just basically AI is involved in this. These trading houses will literally pay premium real estate prices just to be as close as humanly possible to the exchange, so that the lag between their computer systems and the exchange computer system is minimalized. That's how serious they are about time. I mean, it is crazy how serious they are about time. That's why you see this jump right here in the number of trades, the top line being value, the bottom line being trade frequency. You see it explode because they have computer programs, AI computer programs, that look out and monitor certain news sources. And one of the news sources they monitor will be Trump's fucking Truth Social account, because he runs the government through it. So as soon as the announcement comes out, the algorithms go crazy. They notify the people go crazy. And you have all this wild trading right here that just explodes. But if you look at the rest of it, it's actually less than what happened 15 minutes before. You see the volume of trade there? Much of the day is actually much less than what happened at this one point. 15 minutes before Trump makes his announcement, they sold, it was $600 million in oil futures. They sold them when the oil was as high as possible. Then 1 minute later, they bought 1.5 billion in E-mini S&P futures. And it had to be somebody in Trump's inner circle, because they weren't working at the time. There was not, they weren't in even the bullshit made up, shit that they have set up where they put the black drapes up in Mar-a-Lago so that they can pretend that they're in a skiff, or they can pretend that they're in a, no, none of that was going on. At 6:45 in the morning, they were not having a meeting about what they were going to do. Trump put this out. Somebody traded 15 minutes ahead of time. And everybody knows it was a crime. Everybody knows it was a crime. And worse than that, not only was it a crime, but it was a lie. It was a complete made up lie. There was no dialogue. There were no conversations. We now know what happened. This happened. Pakistan is saying, "Oh man, we're going to be an intermediary. We're going to be an intermediary." We sent to Pakistan a list of 15 demands. And Pakistan transmitted that list of demands to Iran. That's it. There was no conversation. It was just, it was just, here you go. Here's a list of demands. That's all that had happened. Again, no dialogue, no nothing. And then rather than the media screaming about you, basically you only have CNBC that is out there telling people, oh, look at this, look at this insider trading. Everybody knows this is insider trading. No, they're trying to, narratives are everything. Now they're trying to say, oh, well, Turkey's being an intermediary. Turkey's being an intermediary. No, they aren't. If you actually read this article rather than just the headline, you get to this. Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said Ankara was conveying, quote, friendly, unquote, advice to Tehran to avoid widening the war, and that he was also in touch with Washington to understand where the side stood. On Sunday, Turkish diplomat source said Fidan had spoken with the U.S. officials and also with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, among others, to discuss possible steps to end the war. Folks, that translates to Turkey told Tehran, you fired 3 missiles at fucking Turkey. If knock it the fuck off, or we're going to escalate this shit. No more missiles at Turkey. That was the conversation that they had. But you've got the news media talking as though, oh, there's some dialogue going. No, you've got Turkey going to the U.S. saying, look, if this continues to escalate, what's our play? We're NATO. Are we going to, is this going to become a NATO situation? We're being attacked. Article 5, anybody? Anybody? That's what's going on. You've got Turkey having conversations with the U.S. on their own behalf, and Turkey having conversations with Tehran on their own behalf. They're not a fucking intermediate. And there's another story just like it out of Egypt, which is not true. It is not true. This is what Iran's response was to Trump saying that there was peace talks. They attacked, we talked about this in the last show. They attacked Bahrain, they attacked Kuwait, they attacked Qatar, they attacked Israel and said there are no peace talks. Go screw yourself. They also said this. They said, you know what? The last 2 times you attacked us when we were having negotiations. We're not doing it again. We're not doing it again. This is what Iran is saying. Iran suspects Trump's peace talk push is another trick. And then to drive the point home, they did this. Iran trolls Trump's war brag with fake leaked texts. And what they're talking about is this. The Iranian embassy in Saudi Arabia put this out. Looks supposed to look like a one-sided text message. You notice there are no responses here. This is just one-sided. It says, hey, Ayatollah, let's talk about the Strait for sure. Oh, that's good to hear. When they didn't hear anything, there was no response. I will cease attacks for 5 days. And then they said, thanks for your attention to this matter. Remember when I told you in the last show that stupid tagline he puts on the bottom of his text is the stupidest shit I'd ever heard, and that people were mocking him for it? That was before Iran had done this and said this? Yeah. Thank you for your attention to this matter. They're mocking him. Then they put this out. You remember he made the comments, they're like, well, how would that work? Because the press was desperately trying to spin the narrative that there was some conversation going on and Trump is just making up lies as he goes. Well, we'll open the Strait of Hormuz up and we'll control, we'll have some sort of joint control. And they're like, well, how would that happen? He said, well, the Ayatollah will control it and I'll control it. Maybe me, I'll do it. Me and the Ayatollah will control the Strait of Hormuz. And everybody's like, oh, Christ, here comes another criminal enterprise. This was their response to that. Again, this is an actual response from the Iranian embassy. This is literally the government of Iran saying this. The Strait of Hormuz will be controlled by me and the Ayatollah. Shades emoji, laughing emoji. And it's a car with a child's fake steering wheel in the passenger seat. Now, does anybody get the vibe off of that there are peace talks going on? No, he just lied. And he lied in the middle, and we know there was insider trading. $1.5 billion in futures were bought. Do you know how much money they made on that? $600 million in oil futures sold at peak prices. You know how much money they made on that? And that had to be somebody in Trump's inner circle. And I've told you folks, just because our news media tries to invent narratives like, oh yeah, there are peace talks going on, everything's going to be fine, and just because Wall Street falls for it and our media is willing to try to sell these narratives, folks, the global media doesn't. Reality doesn't give a shit. It doesn't care. This is what they're saying in the British media. Middle East crisis live. Iran's military mocks Trump's claim of ceasefire talks, strikes Gulf states overnight. All right, let me tell you what people that actually fucking know something are saying. This is where we're at. They sent a list of demands through Pakistan to Iran. And it's going to piss you off so bad when you hear these demands. Iran, out of deference to Pakistan, took the list. And Pakistan said, come on, man, I want to mediate. Just tell me what you want and I'll pass it on. You don't even have to talk to them. You don't have to talk to them devils. We'll talk to them for you. Just tell us what you want. Iran has now created a list of demands and given it to Pakistan. There is no bringing these together. The demands from both sides cannot be agreed to by either side. This is what we asked for, and it's going to piss you off because we asked for the Obama deal. You remember the Obama deal that Trump blew up? We had inspectors on the ground in Iran at their nuclear facilities, monitoring all that they were doing to make sure that they only enriched for energy purposes, no weapons. We had that already. We had that. And Trump blew it up. And when they blew it up, Iran just started enriching for weapons. But then he said, we blew up their facilities. Remember that? Remember he said we destroyed their facilities? Keep all of that in mind while we talk about this. And then I'll talk to you about what the hang-up is that's just not going to happen. This is what Trump sent. Okay? The nuclear facilities at Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow will be taken out of use and destroyed. Well, I thought they were already destroyed. You told us they were already destroyed. They're not. And they know it. And they knew they lied when they said that. Do you remember the indignance that Pete Hegseth showed? Remember him screaming at reporters? How dare you? You remember bullshit Barbie screaming at reporters from the podium at the White House for even insinuating that these facilities were not destroyed? The best strikes ever. Remember that? Okay, line 1, the nuclear facilities at Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow will be taken out of use and destroyed. They lied. They know they lied. 2, transparency and oversight by the International Atomic Energy Agency over activities in Iran. You mean the exact fucking thing that we had when Obama was president? We already had it, didn't have to go to war, nothing. That already fucking existed. That's your big ask. That's your big ask. That we just go back to the agreement. Okay, look, these are things that I can actually see with the right sweeteners being accepted in a negotiation. But it goes south. It just goes south. Iran will abandon the use of armed proxies in the region and stop its funding of arming of regional affiliates. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. We wouldn't do that ourselves. I mean, do you understand? Every country uses proxies like this. Iran's never going to agree to that. They're just not. Dismantling of existing nuclear capabilities that have already been accumulated. Maybe. They might. Maybe. If the deal is right, maybe. A commitment to never strive to achieve nuclear weapons. Shit changes, that could change. I could see them accepting that one. Knowing full well that if conditions change, fuck it, we're not going to abide by that. No nuclear material will be enriched on Iranian soil, and all enriched material will be handed over to the IAEA. That's not going to happen. They're not going to. It's a matter of pride for them that they're not a second-class citizen. It just is. I mean, I could see them agreeing to the oversight where you have eyes on the ground, seeing exactly what they're doing, real-time, full-time monitoring, all of that. I can see that, but they're never going to completely give up on enrichment. They're not. They're investing in nuclear power plants right now. And that should hit you right here. Think about it. Iran, a country swimming in oil, is moving to renewables. Duh. The Strait of Hormuz will remain open and constitute a free maritime zone. That's not going to happen. And I'll tell you why here in just a minute. There's more to talk about on that. And this is the one that is the kicker, that is just ending all of this. It's a non-starter before we say anything. Iran's missiles will be subject to a future decision, but they would be limited in quantity and range and only for self-defense purposes. Translation, you can't own a missile that can hit Israel. That's what that means. You cannot own a missile that can hit Israel. Because there is no missile limitation they can put on them that would keep them from hitting, I don't know, Kuwait is this far away. Bahrain is literally just across the Gulf. I mean, so Qatar is literally just across the Strait of Hormuz. The United Arab Emirates, I mean, is just across the Strait of Hormuz. There's no limitation that could stop them from hitting their Gulf. This is, you cannot have a missile that can reach Israel, which is telling Iran, the country that attacks you because they fucking choose to, because Benjamin Netanyahu's a fucking psychopath, can have the ability to attack you, but you can't have the ability to retaliate. Would you accept that? Say, you've gone all Hatfield and McCoys with your neighbor. Somebody brokers a peace deal. It says, okay, here's the deal. Your neighbor, the guy, the McCoys over there, they can shoot. They've got weapons. They can shoot you, but you can't own anything that will reach them. No, you're not going to accept that. It's a non-starter. It's just not going to happen. It is just not going to happen. And here's the sweeteners, and this is the stuff that's just going to piss you off too, even more. Here's the sweeteners that they put on top. Under the plan, Iran is reportedly to receive American assistance in developing a civilian nuclear project in Bushehr for electricity production. Now, I've already told you, Bushehr is up and running. It has a Russian VVER 1000 reactor already. We're going to build them more nuclear reactors. We're going to remove all sanctions on Iran, and we'll never threaten to put another one on. Those are the sweeteners. They get reactors from Russia already. This is nothing. This is nothing to them. Now, this is Iran's position, and this is coming out of Israel's intelligence, so take it all with a grain of salt. Iran toughens negotiating stance amid mediation efforts, sources say. Down here in the summary, you see Iran would seek guarantees against future attacks. Islamic Republic would also refuse limits on missile program, of course. Trump says talks have already taken place. Iran denies this. I believe Iran on this one. Israeli sources believe agreement between U.S. and Iran unlikely. No shit. No shit. Control over Strait of Hormuz would be the key issue. And that's the one I'm telling you. That's the one I'm telling you is just blowing everything up. The missiles are one thing. The missiles are one thing. Of course, you wouldn't enter into that agreement. Nobody would. But Iran knows at this point, the longer they drag this out, the stronger their position gets. We're running out of time. We're heading to an economic crash globally because of this conflict. And Iran knows all they have to do is hang on. That's it. Just hang on. And the longer they hang on, every hour, every day, their negotiating strength grows. Their demands, though, are also a non-starter. The one, I won't go through all of them. I won't bore you with it. But the one that's just they now own the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, they can threaten the Strait of Hormuz, but it's technically international waters. Everybody in the Gulf has access to it. Iran says, you want peace? We fucking own it. Just like Panama owns the Panama Canal, the Strait of Hormuz is ours. That is Iranian waters. And every ship that goes through will pay. I want you to think about that, folks, because we may very well end up there. Because again, the more that time passes, the stronger Iran's position gets. And they're playing smart, folks. They're playing really smart. It's like they just put this out. Iran says non-hostile ships can sail through the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, I told you that they'd made that offer. Then they retracted it when Trump made his threats. Well, they put that offer back on the table. You see, this is from yesterday. They put that offer back on the table. Here's the one why this is brilliant, and two, while it's complete bullshit at the same time. Their definition of hostile. Remember, they're attacking their Gulf neighbors right now. They're attacking their Gulf neighbors. They consider the fact that Jordan is allowing flyovers of, Israel to fly over Jordan to attack them to be hostility. They consider Saudi Arabia to be a hostile government. They consider the UAE, who's been cooperating with the U.S., to be hostile. So you're getting where I'm going with this. Kuwait, Iraq. We've got bases in Iraq. They're putting an ultimatum out there to their Gulf neighbors. Kick the U.S. the fuck out and stop cooperating with them, and your ships can go through unmolested. In fact, we'll escort them. Which is something that it's just not going to fly. It's brilliant in that they say they're the ones saying we're reasonable. You just stop doing business with our enemy. And hey, we're all good. You can do business. I'm telling you, folks, Trump is a moron. He is a moron, a complete and total moron. And this is where we're at. Again, British news, the same as Al Jazeera. If you go to the German news, Der Spiegel, they all have headlines like this. Trump's 15-point plan passed to Tehran as Iran says U.S. is negotiating with itself. That's where we're at. And you know what? Right now, I'll bet you, I haven't looked at the Dow. I will bet you the Dow is just taking off like a rocket. Because I don't know how to explain this to you so that you all get it, that you all understand how important narratives are. Narratives are everything. And the press is working so hard to push a narrative that there are negotiations going on, that we're making headway. But everybody with any kind of OPSEC background, with any kind of military background, with any kind of diplomatic backgrounds knows, no, these things are not reconcilable. We're no closer than when we started. It doesn't matter that they wrote them down on paper. None of them fly. This is the Dow right now. I love that you folks are already on it, man. I love you people so much. It jumped from the opening bell. It jumped 500 points, and it's still up 335. Let's check oil prices. Let's check oil prices. West Texas Intermediate. It's down to $90 a barrel, down almost $10 from its peak. For what reason? There isn't one. Everybody with any knowledge knows that it's not true. That what they're saying is going on is not true. You can tell it's starting to seep in. The reality is starting to seep in over at the Dow, because it's given back some of its gains from last night when everybody was like, "Yay, peace talks!" Everybody's finding out today. What do you mean there's no conversation? They just sent a list. That's it. That's the peace talks. And Iran is saying, "Fuck you." And the realization that the longer Iran drags this out, the stronger their position gets. Yeah. That's where we're at. That's where we're at, folks. You and me, who have to go buy gas and groceries and everything, are at the whim of traders on Wall Street that are just screaming, "Lie to me, baby. Lie to me. Lie to me. Tell me it ain't true. Just lie to me." A president that will just lie. And imbeciles all around him that are corrupt, inept, stupid, and bigots. And we have to live our lives in that shitstorm. We catch up on some of these comments, and I got one more story for you. I need you to stick with me. It's somewhat related. Ann Hopland, weather report from West Norway. Constant rain. No summer of 2024. It rained for 3 months straight. Climate deniers can bite me. Yeah, I'm hearing you, man. I'm hearing you. And by the way, is from Norway. She's part of our European. If you have questions about how, our allies, people that, she's still our ally. She hates Trump as much as we do. If you've got any questions, ask Ann. That is what's so wonderful about being here in the live audience is the collection of people that we have here, the information. You have people here like Ann that you can say, "Hey, Ann, what do they think about this in Norway? Are they buying that? Or, what do they, you can ask." It is such a gift. It's just such a gift. Samita Fakeda, thank you for always being here. Plan A Democrat member of Congress can do a Fox interview suggesting Trump sends ICE to Iran. Waste, fraud, abuse, baby. We all know that Fox gives Trump his best ideas. Plan B, dig that ditch and vote, vote, vote. Amen. I'm going with Plan B. I don't trust Fox for anything. Mike Daly, they're making a fact bat with a Louisville metal bat and a Sharpie. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. Skeecha, I had a lot of people ask me that. They did. A lot of people emailed me. I had at least 2 dozen emails, people asking me to put these on the. And I'm telling you, folks, this is the real deal. This is it's a Rawlings Pro, and I don't remember what it is. It's 34-inch Rawlings Pro. Just look at the price of a Maple Rawlings Pro 34-inch. So it's like $130, $150 bat. There's no way I can make those and sell them. I just can't. I can't believe Rawlings can sell them for that much less me putting lettering on it. And, Skeets there. At this point, anyone with decency in America needs to join the democratic process and not just vote. It's the best way to guarantee continued success. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. Bald Thanos. I'm out of coffee till the first. Oh, hell. Jesus, man, that made my heart hurt. Whew. Whew. Y'all people, I want to, you know what? I want to put a pin on this. Put a pin in the show for a second. Y'all people are so damn generous. Y'all are. I mean, I had no idea there was so much good coffee out there. I can't tell you how much coffee y'all have sent me that is from small local roasters, and then I don't have Pete's here. I have to mail order Pete's to get it here. No one sells that brand here locally. That is some of the best damn coffee. If you're gonna, I'm telling you, folks, trust me on this one. Trust me on. There's a couple blends. Um, I drink mine black. I drink my coffee black. I like the Major Dickinson blend, but I'm telling you, get yourself some Pete's, man. That is some good coffee. It is. It is. I mean, there are a lot of good roasters out there, a lot of great people doing things. The flip is surprisingly good. Normally, when you get a coffee that's more of a charity than something like that, no, the flip is good coffee, and you're supporting somebody who's rescuing dogs. I mean, that's fantastic. And Kitty Town is fantastic. It is. And y'all have been so generous mailing me. I'm going to confess something that my wife tells me not to tell people because y'all will stop sending me coffee. I haven't bought coffee in going on a year now. I haven't had to buy coffee. Y'all have taken care of my coffee. And I can't tell you how grateful I am. I can't. That is the coolest fucking thing in the world. Never imagined it when I started doing this show. Never imagined it. But thank you. I am truly grateful. I hope you can tell I am truly, truly grateful for that. That was remarkable on y'all's part. Skeets there. There are more than one Senate seat in Texas. Crockett and Cruz is a slam dunk. I'm telling you, 2028 is going to be lit, man. It's going to be lit. Skeet Sayre, ICE are a blight in every way on American society, but the right created this. Mullen is not better. All right, let me just talk about Mullen for a second. I was going to talk about him on Friday or Sunday's show, but let's talk about him now. DEI. All DEI is, all it ever was looking for the best candidate from no matter what source. That's it. That's what DEI is. It is looking for candidates in places that don't normally, universities and jobs, and it's saying, hey, look at these schools over here. Look in this community over here. There are people that are scoring off the charts, and they're not going to your schools, man. They're not going to your schools because there's no connection between you two. They don't know that they can get in. They don't know that they can actually afford it because nobody's going to them and saying, hey, look, there are options here. Between scholarships and government funding, and we can get you into this college. You make the grade. You're actually better than just our mainstream run-of-the-mill applicants. That's what DEI is. Just find the best candidates no matter where they come from. The white bigots that hate DEI, the perfect textbook example of why is Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne Mullen. A guy with no qualifications at all for his job. He's a fucking plumber, and a dumb one at that. He says the stupidest shit. He's fucking dumb. But he's a white guy, and he was in the right place. And that's exactly why we need DEI. That is exactly, there is not a better textbook poster reason. Mark Wayne Mullen should be on DEI posters throughout the world. He is the perfect reason why we need DEI. Because I promise you, there were people more qualified, much, much, much more qualified to run DHS. But we've got to have a mediocre white dude, less than mediocre white dude, running one of the most important agencies in our government. Fuck yeah, DEI. Fuck yeah. Yeah. DEI on steroids is what we need. The best of the best. I don't give a shit if they're gay, straight, transgender. I don't care if they're black, white, Asian. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not a bigot. Are you fucking smart? That I care about. Do you have experience in your particular field? I care about that. You know, are you telling me we couldn't have found a competent police chief, or we couldn't have found a competent general, or we couldn't have found somebody from, from academia that deals with these concepts daily? With multiple master's degrees? No, we had to get a mediocre white dude because he says bigoted shit, and that's what they like. Mark Wayne Mullen is the poster boy for DEI and why we must have it. Skeets here, ice or blight. Yeah. Yep. DK Walk. Remember, no King's protest this Saturday. Yes. Get fired up. Be there. Fred Trump Jr. was in the ANG. They gave him hell. Glenn Kaneko gifted 10. I appreciate you, Glenn. Thank you for being so generous. There are free memberships to be had, folks. Snap them up. Skeet Sayre, so true, Paul, is a blue dot in a state created by hatred. No. Most blue dots aren't created by hatred. Disgust, frustration. You know what? If y'all have the time, I know we're running long today. If y'all have the time, I'll tell you a story. Why I tell people, don't live in the country. You think it's going to be great, but it's not. Let me tell you. Earlier in our professional careers, we lived in the Austin area for a while. And I had a Home Depot that I liked, that I went to, that took really good care of me. But there was another one just a few minutes away. There was. And I went in, when I moved up here, I needed a specific drill bit for a project I was working on. It wasn't just an any ordinary drill bit. It was a specific drill bit. And I went to the wall, and that tab was empty. There weren't any. So I hunted around, couldn't find a tool person, which is crazy to me because the Home Depot in Austin, 100%. Yep. There was somebody in that tool area all the time. Not where I'm at now. Ended up going to the pro desk. One of those guys went into the tool aisle with me. This is the pro desk. I took him and said, yeah, I'm looking for this drill bit right here. The guy looks me in the eye, dead in the eye, and says, we're out. No shit, dude. No shit. You're out. I see that. Do you have any, see all these pallets up here where shit isn't stocked yet? Is there one in the store anywhere? Well, let me check. And he pulls his thing out and he scans it. No, I ain't got none. He said, truck comes Wednesday. It's like, oh, cool. You got one coming on Wednesday? He said, don't know. Got to come back. Truck comes Wednesday. Wait, what? What? You're telling me the drill bit might or might not be here Wednesday, or you got one coming on the truck. Don't know. Got to come back Wednesday. Now, let me tell you how this would have worked at the Home Depot in the city. Oh, yeah. Hi. How you doing? Hey, guy. Yeah. Tour guy. Come here, man. Not go find. Just wave. Comes over. So, oh, you're looking for that one? Okay, let me check and see. Not ask him to. He would check his inventory. Oh, we're out. Tell you what. Let me go make a phone call and check and see if I can get you one. Let me find out what's going on with these. He would walk over to a phone and he would come back on his own. I wouldn't even have to go find him. He would just come back. And he said, oh, Mr. Schroeder, I found you one at the Home Depot over off Runberg or that, whatever. I can't remember what street it was. I found you at the other store. Would you like me to have them pull it and hold it for you there, or I can have it shipped over here and you can come back and pick it up? Which would you like? That's the city versus country. The city, there's competition. If they don't act right, you've got another store right there. In the country, not so much. Truck comes Wednesday. Come back and checked in. That is really the attitude. So yeah, are blue dots created that way? Yeah. The stupid shit that you put up with from these Republicans out here will make anybody with a brain a blue dot. It's not hate. It's just dealing with these people. Trader hater. A lot of brave American sons and daughters are about to pass over Rump's Epstein cover-up. That is enough to motivate me to tell everyone I know and me over the road to vote Democrat. Yes. Amen, brother. Amen. And I will tell you, at the same time that Trump is trying to tell them, oh, let's have peace talks, he just moved 2,000 more troops. He did. They just telegraphed. This time, it's special forces. 2,000 members of the 82nd Airborne are on their way to the Middle East. Would you trust Trump? He's attacked you twice when you're in. No. Skeets there. The dots are connecting, though. Yep. Crafty Ass Gardner gifted 5 memberships. Snap them up, people. Snap them up. Tiffany Elms, welcome. Johnny Lott, thanks for being here. Joan Dunlop, welcome. Thomas Keene, if he was stupid enough to think it would be okay to just nuke a hurricane, of course he wouldn't realize the impact of bombing a nuclear power plant. Our president has dementia. He's addled, and he wasn't that bright to begin with. Skeet Sayer, meanwhile, 31 Atlas went from Sun orbit in December to Jupiter orbit in March. Calling people non-human is the greatest crime in a universe where we are only aware of ourselves. I get what you're saying there, Skeet. I do. Mike Daly, the Dem. Parnas reporting Jack Smith testified Trump held most secret documents on Middle East for business purposes. Yeah, I believe that. He got a $400 million plane out of it, didn't he? Pardon me, $1.2 billion plane, because we are renovating it. UN and Euro entities are preparing agencies for anticipated effects from nuclear problems from all of this going on. Are you ready to get involved yet? Skeet Sayer, this is not new. I watched a doc where the exact same thing happened to World Trade Center one day before September 11th. Black Cat in the Matrix. Thank you, Ron. Teresa Pearson, welcome. Weird Idaho Liberal, thank you for all the big support, man. I appreciate you always being here. Industrial strength diapers have failed. Bring in the fire hoses. You crack me up, dude. You really do. Oh, my God. Steve Alexander, Seems like it's a war of futures market kickbacks because deranged in chief making money through donations, crypto purchases on this. Yep, Skeets there. It is not someone. It is not someone. The narrative is the same. 47 years. Iran narrative is an example. Mr. Knudsen in the house. Asbjorn Knudsen. When Democrats take power, there should be introduced legislation that makes it illegal for politicians to lie. Good luck with that one. Good luck with that one, brother. We can't even get them to quit trading stocks, much less quit lying. If they knowingly try to deceive the public, they would be forced to leave office. That's a dream, my friend. That is a dream. Skeets there. If Trump declares war on Iran, it will trigger World War III. China is emboldened by U.S. idiocy. Again, brother, I'm not with you on that one. I know you've said that a couple of times. I'm telling you, I just don't think anybody has the appetite for it. I just don't. And I think that's what Israel's counting on. By the way, we got another story here. As soon as I read a couple more of these, get caught up a little bit, I got to stick with me. I know we're going long, and I do apologize for that, but I've got one more thing that we've got to talk about. It's important. Angie May, Texas Paul, can we demand the insider trading be busted while we're marching for the no kings on March? We can demand all we want, but until we elect Democrats, it's not going to happen. ET, have you seen the Midas Touch Network Valor documentary, Drone Hunters of Kurdzon? Yeah, it is actually really good, folks. You should check it out. You should. It's really good. The one part showing all of the fibers draped over the villages, etc., was sobering. Yeah. Check it out. It is the Midas Touch is doing some amazing work. Mr. Knudsen, can Iran reach most cities in Europe already? Not really. No, not really. There's a lot of talk. It's like China and they're talking about their 6th generation jets that they're building and how superior their 5th generation jets are. They're great on paper, but they don't really function that well. They don't. Have they built something that will make the distance? Yeah, probably. But that's not that hard. That's not the hard part. It's making it hit what you're wanting it to hit. And no. ET, Iranian multi-pass toll instrument for SOH pass. I believe it. That's, our Tomahawk missile is not the fastest. It doesn't have the greatest range of any missile out there. None of that. It's not a hypersonic missile. It's not anything. The reason people use them, it hits its fucking target. It's really good. You put the point on the ground, that's where it hits. I mean, it's accuracy is everything when you're talking about missiles. I mean, you can have a hyper fast missile, you can have a long range missile, but if it doesn't hit what you need it to hit, what's the fucking point? Mr. Newsom, Iran has the tech to build an ICBM. Yeah, they do. They do. The problem is, again, is it going to be able to hit the target? ET. Meanwhile, Japan has gotten its last tanker for. I feel for Japan, man. They are in a rough spot. McBashers, welcome to Dwindle's 7th bankruptcy. George, thank you for supporting the show. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Ethan Vinsky. But in the country, I can turn my guitar amp up to 11. That is true. I will tell you, I piss off the back porch and can't nobody see it. Nobody. There are some good points to living in the country. And Mrs. Texas Paul is going to be pissed off for me saying that, but she's the one that invented the term country peeing. She's going to be so fucking mad at me. She is going to be so mad at me. That's a true story if you can't tell. She invented the term country peeing. Uh, George Leinenweber, OF. I'm George Allen. Good to see you, Paul. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you, George. Glad to see you here. How do we get the memberships, Paul? I didn't have the money. George, I'm telling you, that join button down there, if you click on it, you should be able to pass through to get one of the free memberships. You may have to go to your YouTube settings and Google this. They've actually got a video that will show you click to click how to change your settings so that you can accept gifts. That is a thing. That is a thing. And once you have that set, if you hit that join button, it'll just ask you, hey, do you want to take one of the free ones? Or do you want to pay for one? David Ruiz, thank you for being here, brother. Thank you. McBassage, MEF 1st and 2nd Rangers, 82nd Airborne, Delta, and Air Force CWF deployed. Boots on the ground, incoming. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All while we're having peace talks. I wouldn't buy that shit either. Johnny Lott, I was telling you about the UN in the last when YouTube blocked me telling the world about crimes against humanity committed by Israeli soldiers. It made me sick. Hold your britches. Great segue for this. This is the last story I got for you today, folks. This is really fucking happening. Remember I showed you the river, which Israel's drug us into this so that they can take a big chunk of property from Beirut, or pardon me, from Lebanon. And I showed you the river and everything. Let's go to the map. Let's go to the map. One second. Let me tell you what. Let me go ahead and pull up the Litani River for you so we can just recap what we were talking about there. All right. The Litani River I can do a better one than that. Hold on. Stick with me, folks. I know we've been here for a long time. I want to get you a better map. I'm going to get you a better map of it. Here we go. This will work. This will work. Just for reference, so you get an idea. There's been an argument among the extremists in Israel that the Litani River, it runs north and south, and then when it gets to South Lebanon, it makes a hard right turn, or hard left turn, actually. There are extremists in Israel that say the northern Israel border is not their border. Their border is the Litani River. They just say, we own that. That's ours. Everything in Lebanon, which is just not true. It is just not true. It does not belong to them. It's Lebanon. I've told you this, Benjamin Netanyahu's a fucking psychopath. He wants us at war with Iran because they want to take that land. Everything you see south of that, where the Litani River makes that 90-degree turn at the bottom, Israel is trying to take that land right now. They're doing it. Now they've started bombing north of that. Now they've started bombing Beirut. And I just want to give you an idea how far north Beirut is. They claim that they have to take everything to the Litani River. The Litani River runs just north of Tyre, pardon me. Runs right here. You can see it just running east to west. It empties out into the ocean just north of Tyre. They claim they have to have all this land down here. Kana, Kalele, Bent Jabil, all of these, they're saying, man, that's all Israel. We got to have that for safety purposes. Okay. Then why the fuck are you bombing Beirut, which is in North Lebanon? Folks, this is Beirut right here. You see this red line here? I'm going to back out. Look how far north Beirut is. I mean, there's only one major city north of Beirut. That's Tripoli. This is insane. This is going on right now as we speak. Israel is bombing Beirut. That's what this war is about. That's why we got drug into this. It is absolutely Trump is in the Epstein files. Absolutely, Trump has lost the script on immigration because because ICE was murdering U.S. citizens. Everybody hated what he did in Venezuela. Everybody hated what but he lives in this bubble. When he talked about invading Greenland, but he lives in this bubble where his security briefings are like bullshit you'd see on social media. They're just little clips of what they want him to hear. And yes, they're doing it to Cuba right now. They're literally committing war crimes in Cuba right now. The majority of Cuba's power plants run off oil. They burn oil. Yeah, they're very dirty. They burn oil, but that's how they get their power. We have blockaded Cuba. You remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? When the opposite happened in Russia, we blockaded Cuba and Russia, tried to run the Cuban, I'm more worried about war starting over that because right now we're not letting Russian tankers through with Russian oil and Cuba's power plants are just shut down. And there are people in hospitals that have died because they were on ventilators. I mean, that's where we're at, folks. You've got Israel invading Lebanon. Trump is grifting money off of this. We got insider trading going on, and he doesn't even take it seriously enough that he just won't lie. Oh, yeah, there's peace talks going on. Meanwhile, the other person is just punching you as hard as they can freaking punch you. Oh, yeah, peace talks. Oh, yeah, there's peace talks going on. By the way, did I tell you I sent the 82nd Airborne down there? In case you don't know, Special Forces are the first ones in. Folks, we fucked up in the last election. We did. Bad. We have to make sure that we don't do that again. I need you to get involved. I need you to get involved locally. I know it can be boring and you got to go once a month, sit in a room. They read minutes and, it's not all glamour and glitz and stuff, but I promise you that networking is everything because come election time, You're the ones that get out and get it done. You're the ones that phone bank. You're the ones that, even if you can't get out and knock doors, if you can't block walk, you can be the person that sits in the office and coordinates the block walk. There's a lot you can do, man. There's a lot you can do. And I've shown you over and over again how close we're getting in some of these elections in deep, deep red areas. In just a few hundred votes, some cases just a few dozen votes. In some cases, we've won these elections by one vote. You can make all the difference in the world in those elections. You can. Well, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I'm sorry we went so long. I appreciate you hanging in there and having that long of an attention span. I'm grateful for you to be here. I'm grateful for all the support. Again, I tried to answer all the emails that were asking about the pins. I answered about a half a dozen of them. If I missed your email, I'm sorry. Yes, the pins are available. I appreciate you being here. Please, no King's Day. If you've got your pins already, I can't get you the pins before this No King's Day. I can't. But if you've got them already, wear them. I'll be wearing mine so that you can tell everybody, they'll ask you, what does that pin represent? And you can tell them about being a ride or die Democrat. You can tell them about being a ride or die Democrat. Let's get her done. I want to read the last couple of comments and we are done. George, farmers markets are killer in my rural area. That's true. There can be some good ones. There can. Rock and Ron, Ahmed Vahidi to U.S. forces, come closer. Yeah. It's literally what he said. Literally what he sat in there in front of the camera, and they're like, aren't you afraid of the U.S. invading? He said, afraid? We're waiting for it. George, working up a set of songs for tomorrow's gig, all blues, because I've got them. Enjoy, my friend. I appreciate you, George. Last word to you, my friend. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.